Now available in paperback and e-readers, Spellbound, A Darker Shade of Black. Get your copy today at your favorite online bookseller. A 19-year-old girl lost her life when she and her twin sister were allegedly stabbed by an individual who allegedly was upset that she rejected their advances.
Twin sisters attacked by a man who police sources say tried to flirt with them inside a Brooklyn deli. Tonight, one sister is dead and the other is injured as police search for the killer.
I feel horrible. It's sad. It's very sad.
A memorial grows outside the home of 19-year-old Samaya Spain. Spain died Sunday morning after being stabbed twice inside a deli in Park Slope. Her 19-year-old twin sister stabbed in the arm. A witness who didn't want to show their face says the twin sisters were attacked because they refused a stranger's advances.
One of the guys had complimented the two girls that had walked in with their friends, and they said no. They weren't attracted, so he called them names. They called him names back. He walked down the block angry.
The witness says the man came back to the deli, and that's when things took a turn for the worse.
He's banging on the door. They locked the door. Then he walked away again, so they unlocked the door so everybody could leave. So the second they opened the door, he ran back into the door and started attacking them.
A deli worker at the store on 4th Avenue in St. Mark's Place says the twins have been coming there for years.
They're very nice. I know the father too.
Oh yeah?
They're very nice people. They come over here all the time. They are a customer of ours for over I would say over 10 years I know them. Take somebody else's life, young lady like she's 19 years old. You know, she's a beautiful girl.
The witness said the man and his friends were intoxicated and ran off after the attack. So far, no arrests. Anyone with information is asked to call police.
Now, according to reports, an individual alleged to be named Rico allegedly made an advance on Samia Spain as she and her sister were coming to a Brooklyn bodega at 2:20 in the morning. And as Samia and her sister Sanaya were in the bodega and this guy Rico was allegedly making these advances, Samia Spain rejected this guy's advance as they were in this crowded store. Now, after getting rejected by Samia Spain, this is where Rico allegedly got upset and emotional because he had been rejected by Samia Spain in front of all of his friends. And after he had gotten upset about getting rejected, he was basically ejected from the store. And this is where this individual allegedly named Rico went someplace to get himself a knife. And after he got his knife, this is where he decided to stab Samia Spain and her sister, and as a result, Sanaya Spain wound up stabbed in the arm, and Samia Spain was stabbed and wound up losing her life. Now, the NYPD see this as an isolated incident, but when I take a critical examination of Rico's alleged actions, they fit the pattern and profile for beta males that I talk about in my book, The Man Crisis, and they also fit the pattern and profile for power and psycho simps that I talk about in my book, Stop Simping, Why Men Don't Need Finance to Get Romance. Now, one of the big problems with a lot of these beta male simps is that these males can't take rejection, and they can't take rejection due to the dysfunctional way they have been raised in single mother households and households with beta male fathers. And because these males don't understand that in the world of the social marketplace, a man has to be able to take rejection, these males, whenever some girl says no to them, what they do is get emotional because they take the rejection personally. And this further escalates when these guys are in large social groups, because what happens to these guys is that they wind up losing face because after they've spit their game, they wind up losing. And because they can't take losing in front of people, what these guys do is get so in their feelings that they want to get even with the girl for rejecting them. And what these guys really don't understand is that in the world of the dating and the social marketplace, you are going to have to be able to take an L, because oftentimes when it comes to the world of dating and relationships, you're going to have to get used to hearing a lot of no before you hear yes. And when you go out and step and cold approach a woman, you have to understand that you're going to hear no, oftentimes more than yes, and your ability to handle rejection is going to show how you're going to gain character. I mean, how a man is perceived is how he takes rejection, because a man who has strong character, when he goes and steps to a woman and she says no to them and he can take it, most of the people around him will respect him, because they'll say that this man has the resolve to be able to handle his business. Unfortunately, when you're dealing with beta males, a lot of these guys, they go out here and put up a front to overcompensate for their insecurities. And in the case of this alleged Rico individual, he had been spending a night of clubbing, and as he had spent that night of clubbing, getting drunk and possibly getting high, and was out in front of his friends, he felt embarrassed when this twin sister, Samia Spain, allegedly rejected him. And once he lost face, that's when he basically lost control over his emotions, and this was further exacerbated by him possibly being inebriated or high. And as he was inebriated or high, what he did was his inhibitions were lowered, and as a result, he decided to act on his alleged impulses, and because he had poor impulse control, acted on those impulses to go and get a weapon and look to take the life of Samia Spain, all because she said no to him. And this is the kind of behavior that dysfunctional beta males participate in, because they take things to extremes, because they take it too personally, because they don't understand how the world works for men as related to dating and relationships. Because you can be the dude out here with the fly gear and the so-called good looks, but if you don't have an ability to navigate through your emotions and have self-control, then you're not ready for the world of dating and relationships. And when it came to this dude, he definitely wasn't ready for the world of dating and relationships, because if you can't take L's, then you're not ready for the world of dating and relationships, because as I stated before, you're going to have to hear a lot of no before you get to the girl who says yes. And the way you handle yourself is going to lead to people wanting to get the word out about you. And when it comes to a lot of these simps out here, these guys don't see how them not being able to handle rejection makes it where most women don't want anything to do with them. Because if you can't take no when you make an advance in front of your boys, if you can't take no when a girl says she's not interested in you, then it shows you're coming from a position of weakness, because only a weak dude is going to get upset to the point where somebody's got to put you out of a store. I mean, that just shows a complete loss of self-control, that you get upset that you step to a girl in a store and then she says no, and instead of you just accepting it and just playing it off, you just lose it. And again, that's not what a man does, because when a girl tells a man no, a man just goes and he plays it off. And then sometimes, like I've said in many videos, he'll just joke about it and say, well, she's just not into me, man, and charge her to the game. And charging her to the game will get him a lot more respect from all of the dudes he's around than getting all emotional like this and looking to hurt somebody just because she said no to them. I mean, when I was growing up in high school, sadly, almost 40 years ago, I saw a lot of these situations happen when I was at places like Park West High School. I mean, I read so many horror stories like this, And it really saddens me that nothing has changed since those days in the late 1980s, that you still have dudes like this who have just really poor self-control and poor discipline. And because they go out here when they're expensive clothes, they're thinking that this is going to impress a girl when they step to her, not understanding that what really impresses people is your ability to handle rejection. Because a boy out here has to learn how to grow up to become a man who can take hearing no, and he has to learn how to take hearing no, because that's going to show how strong his character and resolve are. Because a man who can take no, that shows that that man has a strong sense of self-control, to the point where he can just say, okay, I can just blow this woman off. I've made an offer. She said no, so I'm going to move on and find and try to talk to somebody better. Unfortunately, with these beta male individuals, they have emotions like females and the physical strength of men, and that sadly was what makes these guys has been making these guys dangerous for the last 40 years. I mean, I have seen this personally when I was growing up as a kid in high school. I mean, back then I got a lot of rejections from girls, and even had some of them even say cruel things to make fun of me. But I understood that there was more important things than trying to get the attention of these girls, and one of those things is the intangible of my dignity. The other one is the intangible of my self-respect. And the third and most important one is my freedom, because if this girl says no, I want to have the freedom to be able to move on, and I want to have the freedom to be able to move on, because there may be another opportunity out here for somebody who may say yes, and I don't want to squander that opportunity by going out here and getting upset over one girl saying no to me. That was something I learned back in the 80s when I was growing up, and it was something that I wrote about in my novel Spellbound, where Matilda gets an advance put on her by a drug dealer, and the drug dealer couldn't take no, and as a result, sadly, Matilda got beat up, and her brother wound up getting shot. And this is what I experienced as growing up in the South Bronx, and I wanted to put that in the book. And sadly, almost 40 years later, we still have young people who still haven't learned how to take no for an answer, and don't understand that taking no for an answer can be the difference between you being free to make a play for another girl, or you winding up possibly being out here on the run. And eventually what's going to happen to this Rico, because people flipped him on the street, is eventually he's going to get arrested. And when they wind up catching him, what's going to happen to him is he's going to go from being a free guy who was out here able to make plays to step to women, to having to deal with having the CO stepping to him. And as the CO steps to him, he's not going to be able to get a weapon to fight against the CO, nor is he going to be able to get a weapon to go fight against the social hierarchy of guys like Bubba, Tiny, Roscoe, Big Dave, Melvin, and Mr. Sprinkles, when they make their advances on him in the corner of the laundry room, or be able to reject those advances, because in most cases with these guys, they are bigger and stronger than him because they've been working out in the gym. And when those guys make their advances, this guy is going to be in a place where he can't go out here and talk about saying no for an answer, and that's when he will reap what he sowed, later than what he sowed, greater than what he sowed, as Bubba, Tiny, Roscoe, Big Dave, Melvin, and Mr. Sprinkles go out here and trade him for Little Debbie snack cakes, ramen noodles, packets of Crystal Light lemonade, packets of Crystal Light tea, off-brand fruit punch, off-brand Oreo cookies, off-brand lemon cookies, off-brand duplex cookies, off-brand vanilla wafers, off-brand ginger snaps, off-brand sugar wafers, Fritos chips, prison chips, pretzels, packets of soy sauce, packets of sriracha sauce, snack pack puddings, honey buns, tasty cake cupcakes. When they get through trading him for all of the items of the prison commissary, and they wind up having him wash the skid marks out of Mr. Sprinkle's skid mark jockey drawers with a toothbrush. That's when they will finish getting through spit roasting him, and Mr. Sprinkles will spray his special sauce all over the front side and the back side, and split the cheeks open and show us all of the glaze in that backside, looking like the inside of a glazed donut. And after this man's dignity is wound up taken in that penitentiary, he will reflect on the humiliations he suffered and realize taking an L in the streets over a woman is better than spending an entire lifetime in prison, having all of these indignities perpetrated on him inside of the penitentiary. And that's sadly when this dude's critical thinking will kick in, and he'll realize that taking the life of that 19-year-old girl, who did what 19-year-old girls who are attractive usually do, all they're going to do is say no to you. And the whole thing about being a man is you've got to understand, you've got to be able to take those L's, because when you take those L's, it really shows your strength of character as a man, because a man has to go out and take an L in this world and in this life if he hopes to survive in this world. I mean, if you want to be able to go out here and have any sort of relationship with women, you've got to be able to take lots of no's in the hopes to get to the one that says yes. I mean, that's something I learned way back as far as 13 years old in 1987, and by 1989 I had basically built up a thick enough skin to accept hearing no. And even when girls would even go as far as disrespecting me, I understood, okay, this is just one girl's opinion. If she's not into me, there's others that are out here. And I just understood this and accepted this. And even though I had other issues that made where I didn't want to pursue girls because I had issues with my brain aneurysm, and I didn't think they would understand. I accepted that rejection is a part of life, and that rejection isn't a bad thing, because sometimes when a girl says no, you wind up dodging a bullet, and you have to understand that her saying no isn't the end of the world. Yeah, your boys may laugh about you getting dissed by this girl for a minute, but if they truly are members of your crew, they gon' understand. And if they truly are cool dudes in your crew, they're gonna understand that, hey, okay, she said no. And if a girl says no, then it's no big deal. I mean, you just came out the club where you was with plenty of women, and you had to take a lot of L's there, but this dude didn't understand that he needed to maintain his composure. I mean, he was out here drinking, and some people will say that as an excuse, but it isn't an excuse, because clearly this was a case of malice, of forethought, because he had time to think as he left the store and got the knife, but he didn't know how to navigate through his feelings to say, hey, there's something more important here, and that is my freedom, because your freedom is the most important thing as a man, and you have to understand that your freedom is something that is an intangible that you don't want to sacrifice, because if you sacrifice your freedom over a girl, you have lost your dignity, you have lost your self-respect, and you're going to suffer an ignominious end inside of that penitentiary, and those same boys who you lost face in front of will forget all about you years later. They will forget that you even exist after maybe a year and a half. Everybody's going to forget you on these streets. They're going to forget you after you wind up in Rikers and up to the penitentiary. Most of those folks that you was trying to gain face in front of, they aren't going to care about you, because you're just another person that in their life that was there for a minute and now is gone. And once you go up in that penitentiary, you'll find that the world is completely different, and that's sad. That's the sad case about this whole incident. I mean, this 19-year-old girl who was just a child and just starting her life is gone over something so trivial, and something so trivial because we had a boy who didn't get the lessons in manhood, and because he didn't get the lessons in manhood, he showed us all how he was a clear and present danger as a man in crisis. Now, if you want to learn how guys like this wind up participating in this spectrum of violent behavior, you can pick up my book, The Man Crisis, on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can also find The Man Crisis at other online booksellers like Smashworth, the iBookstore, Google Play, and Barnes & Noble. And you can also find it at big box retailers like Walmart and Target. And if you want, the whole thing is, if you want to see me make more videos like The Man Crisis, you can send a donation to the Patreon, the PayPal, or the Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Now available in paperback and e-readers, John Haynes, 1987. Learn lessons about life and teenage love in the 1980s in this coming-of-age John Haynes story. Get your copy of John Haynes 1987 in paperback and e-readers at Amazon.com and online booksellers everywhere. Now available in paperback and Kindle Unlimited, The Man Crisis. Learn why so many men are struggling to find their way in an increasingly gynocentric world in The Man Crisis. Get your copy of The Man Crisis in paperback and Kindle Unlimited today. Support Black-owned and Black-operated digital broadcast media. www.niceradionetwork.com. Nice Radio Network, broadcasting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.